talking about bareback riders, I think bareback riding, they have to go to another level of intensity every single time they compete, I think. Um, I think you need to go to that same level of intensity in the bronc riding and the bull riding. I think that with bareback riding, there's just another element of survival when it comes to that level of intensity. I don't know. Just across the board, I feel like bareback riders are maybe better at the good elite bareback riders are better at getting to that level of intensity.
Yeah, and the few I got on, I agree.
And I've always said that if I had to pick an event, if you lined up all the events, bareback riders would be the last ones I would pick to fight. And a lot of people would say, what about steer wrestlers? I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree. To nowadays for sure, but back 20 some years ago when you had Steve Duhon and Rob Juker and guys like that, I wouldn't have messed with a steer wrestler at all. Duhon would slap people just for fun. Like they'd walk in the bar and he'd just open hand slap them and pow. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, Duhon was somebody you didn't, even if he was your friend, he would jack you up.
Yeah.
Just for fun. But to your point, how people train now compared to 20, 25 years ago is completely different. And I feel like bareback riders train like they are MMA fighters.
Right.
So I agree with you. I probably wouldn't jack with a bareback rider unless it's Tilden Hooper. I'd mess him up.
But. Yeah. I mean, he's, he'd be pretty, he's got that neck,
Yeah.
He'd have to go put his neck brace on to fight you.
If he flinched wrong, he'd be like, I'm stuck.
If you were to watch the tape on my recent jiu-jitsu sessions, you would suggest I don't mess with any of the events,
Do you
much less Tilden Hooper.
You video all your sessions?
No, I don't at all. I hope they don't get out on the internet. I'm just saying, if you were to watch tape on it.
If you were to video them.
Yeah. Have you seen any steer wrestler, any fights?
Oh, no. Because honestly, when I started, it was starting to turn into a business.
Really?
Yeah, guys were not going to the bar as much, not screwing around, I guess. It was more of a business, going to the gym, which was neat to see that transition because I'd heard stories my whole career about they'd get done at the rodeo and go straight to the bar. But I got to see the transition of maybe you go to the bar, but you'd go to bed a little earlier, or you would get up a little earlier, go to the gym. So to see how rodeo has transitioned to a pastime for people that just, they just go rodeo for fun. Now it's a job. You make a living at it. You treat it as you would any other professional sport, which it was cool for me to be able to be in that transition stage.
Yeah. So from the beginning of your career to the end, do you think that was the transition?
That was the transition, 100%.
Yeah. And have you seen it in all events?
For sure. Maybe not the team roping.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
tie down roping as much either. Definitely the steer wrestling, but definitely the bareback riding.
What about you personally? I mean, it seems like here lately, you've seemed to take your fitness a lot more serious.
That's a great question, and people go, why wouldn't you have done that when you were rodeoing? Well, I guess I started to towards the end of my career, but I was still not in the frame of mind where I needed to. Because I had so much success not doing it. I'm like, why would I need to do this? And now looking back on it, the older you get, the more you really should do it. Take care of yourself. But now after I'm done rodeoing, I feel like I'll always have a competitiveness in me. Uh-huh. And now it's making sure I go to the gym, and I guess that's my rodeo. That's my steer wrestling. Going to the gym, lifting, and trying to stay in shape. Maybe not eating correctly all the time.
That concept never really crossed my mind until I was in what is it, whatever's in Georgia, the Army.
Fort Bragg?
No. Anyhow, Donnie, where were we in Georgia? What was that? What was that Army Ranger's name? Anyhow, he did 11 tours, and he said, transitioning away from, he was still active, but he wasn't, going overseas anymore. And the way he transitioned was getting in the gym. Right. That level of intensity as far as like being outside the wire, quote unquote, he funneled that into the gym, and you could tell by his arms, that he would was probably pretty intense in the gym.
Right.
And it was kind of the first time that I really heard about somebody kind of replacing, a high adrenaline action type career with the gym. But it makes sense, as far, especially if you're able to be consistent, if you're able to go in there and sweat it out 3 or 4 times a week, that can
Right.
probably create some sort of internal competitiveness, I guess.
Well, even like yesterday, it was it was a big day. We had the press conference at
Yep.
AT&T with Kid Rock and Stephen Jones and the mayor of Arlington, and we had to get up early because we had to take a horse in for Kid to ride across the stadium in, and I got home and I just wasn't feeling like doing anything. I put swim shorts on. I went over to my folks' house, helped my dad hang some stuff, and then I had to go pick up Cade in town. And I thought, I'm going to take my gym clothes. I forgot them, so I drove to town, picked Cade up, came back, and we went and had dinner. And I was driving back to our house. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to drive back into town. So Bear and I went and put our workout clothes on, went back into town. And that's something, 3-4 years ago, I'd have been,
Yeah.
no way in hell I'm going back into town. But that competitiveness that I don't know what it was. I mean, I could have just as easily went and sat on the couch and had a crumble cookie. We should get them to sponsor us. Have a crumble cookie, but I decided to take my pre-workout and go to the
I
gym.
got to do it in the mornings. I'm a morning guy. I have to.
Way easier. I agree. I think mornings are way better for me too, but obviously didn't have time to go in the morning with the horse, so
Right.
I try to fit it in wherever I can.
No,
but
I get it. There's some that it's hard to make it work,
Yeah.
but there's just so much that competes with evenings.
Yeah.